Hi, welcome to the Semantics lecturette about Felicity. Now, Felicity is an important concept in semantic analysis because it's one of the ways that an expression can be bad in the semantics. Now, we've seen that semantic expressions can be true or false, but when we talk about Felicity, we are talking about the proposition as it's been uttered in a speech context. So, for instance, the proposition that this book is blue is true or it's false. It happens to be true because this book is in fact blue. But whether that statement is felicitous depends on the speech context. So for instance, if you asked me, hey, what color is that book? And I said, this book? This book is blue. Then my sentence, this book is blue, is felicitous. Now, strictly speaking, my utterance is felicitous. But again, we mix these all up, right? So when I say this book is blue, it's felicitous. It's also true. Now, if you asked me the same question and said this book is orange, that would be false. And because blatantly false answers are inappropriate for furthering speech contexts, we say that they're infelicitous. Now let's say that you ask me, what color is this book? And I reply, I've never been to Mexico. Now that happens to be true, that proposition. But because it doesn't answer the question, it's not felicitous. So we'd say that it's infelicitous. So, coming back to this concept of felicity, we find that felicity is a property of utterances. And when something is not felicitous, we say that it is infelicitous. And when we want to write that as a judgment, we use a hash mark or a pound sign in front of the expression. So instead of a star, we use this. Hashtag. I've never been to Mexico. Now, remember, this sentence is only infelicitous in a particular speech context. If we switch to speech context, we should find it completely felicitous. So if you ask me, have you been to Mexico? And I say, I've never been to Mexico. Then that's felicitous. Well, it's a little odd because I could have just said yes, but it's true and it's felicitous. When a proposition is false, we tend to just use this symbol as well, because if it's false, it's infelicitous anyways. So when we want to distinguish then between sentences that are felicitous or false and not grammatical, we don't worry about grammaticality. Going back all the way to Chomsky's famous sentence, colorless green ideas sleep furiously, that sentence is grammatical, but it doesn't mean anything. And you can't compute its truth conditions. So it's nonsense. It's uninterpretable. Now another famous example comes from Bertrand Russell 45 years before that, saying with the sentence of quadruplicity drinks procrastination. It's the same idea. It's well formed in the syntax. It's a good sentence, but it is not a good proposition because we don't know what it means. So we want a distinction here. And we indicate that distinction in our judgments with the different symbol. So propositions are true or they're false. Right? Or as we've seen, they might be neither. And in that case, we say that they're uninterpretable. They're uninterpretable because we can't compute truth conditions for it. And when we get into composition, we'll see that the composition gives us another way of finding something uninterpretable. That is that as the sentence is being built, it turns out that you can't compose it. And this fact, or this observation at least, that a proposition can't be composed out of the parts will tell us that it's not being composed correctly, and we'll have to find a new way to compose it. So this uninterpretability turns out to be a powerful analytical tool. So felicity, truth, uninterpretability, these are important tools in the semantics toolkit when we're trying to understand and narrow down hypotheses about what expressions mean.